They have shared every single part of their lives with us. Or at least, that is what they wanted us to believe. For years, we have welcomed Trent and Amber Johnston into our living rooms. We have watched them raise 5 children. We have watched them navigate a world built for people twice their size. And we have watched them build an empire based on one very specific identity: the largest little family in the world. It is a brand. It is a catchphrase. It is a legacy. But what if that legacy was built on a foundation of lies? What if the family portrait we see on television is incomplete? We have spent weeks combing through archives, analyzing deleted clips, and listening to the whispers that have been circulating in their hometown for decades. And what we have uncovered is not just a continuity error or a production secret. It is a ghost from their past that they have tried desperately to erase. We are talking about a secret so damaging, so contradictory to their public image, that exposing it could bring the entire 7 Little Johnstons franchise crumbling down. We are exploring the darkest theory on the internet: the existence of a child that was erased from history simply because they did not fit the mold. Before we open this file and expose the timeline that doesn't add up, I need you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are the only ones brave enough to ask the questions that TLC tries to bury. Turn on notifications, because what we are about to discuss regarding the Johnston family tree is going to change the way you watch the show forever. To understand the magnitude of this secret, we first have to understand the narrative they have force-fed us for years. The official story is polished. It is perfect. It is a story of triumph over adversity. Trent and Amber met at a convention for little people, fell in love, and decided to build a family. The story goes that they birthed Jonah and then Elizabeth, both born with achondroplasia, the same type of dwarfism as their parents. But the pregnancies were dangerous. The physical toll on Amber's body was immense. So, driven by a desire to expand their family and a desire to help children like them, they turned to adoption. They brought Anna home from Russia. They brought Alex home from South Korea. They brought Emma home from China. 5 children, all little people. A statistical anomaly perhaps, but a beautiful one. This is the brand. This is the 7 and 7 Little Johnstons. Their entire reality TV fame, their speaking engagements, their identity as public figures, it all rests on this unique family composition. They are the real-life 7 dwarfs, a family united not just by love, but by a shared genetic condition that separates them from the rest of the world. They frame their home as a sanctuary, a place where being small is the norm, and the outside world is the challenge. But let's look closer at that identity. Listen to how Trent talks about their family. He doesn't just say they are a family. He emphasizes that they are a little family. Their dwarfism isn't just a trait, it is their currency. It is what got them the show. It is what keeps the lights on. Now ask yourself a hypothetical question. What would happen to that brand if the first child wasn't a little person? What would happen to the us against the world narrative if Trent and Amber, in their very early years, had a child who was average-sized? An average-sized child doesn't need a specialized home. An average-sized child doesn't face the same physical complications. An average-sized child, in a twisted way, dilutes the brand. It breaks the set. It sounds cruel to say it out loud, but in the world of reality TV, branding is everything. And for the Johnstons, that brand is exclusive. This brings us to the timeline. The official timeline of Trent and Amber's relationship is, upon closer inspection, riddled with vagueness. We know they met young, we know they married young. But there is a window of time, a nebulous period between their marriage and the birth of Jonah, that is rarely discussed in detail. They often gloss over these early years, referring to them as a time of struggle or figuring things out. Most fans assume this refers to financial struggles or health issues. But new theories suggest that the struggle was something far more personal and far more tragic. We have gone back to interviews from the very beginning of their public appearances. When asked about starting their family, there is often a hesitation. A glance between Trent and Amber that speaks volumes. It's a look of shared knowledge, a protective barrier they put up instantly. In one old clip, Amber discusses the risks of pregnancy. She talks about how dangerous it is for a little person to carry a child. She mentions that they were lucky with Jonah, but the phrasing is odd. She doesn't say lucky with our first child. She says lucky with Jonah. It is a subtle distinction, but in the world of psychological analysis, these slips of the tongue are critical. Why specify Jonah unless there was a pregnancy before him? And if there was a pregnancy before him, why is it never mentioned? Let's push this theory further. Let's talk about genetics. Achondroplasia is a dominant trait, but it's complex. When two people with achondroplasia have a child, there are three possibilities. There is a 25% chance the child will be average-sized. There's a 50% chance the child will have achondroplasia. And there is a 25% chance the child will inherit two copies of the gene, a condition known as double dominance, which is fatal. We know about the double dominance fear. They have discussed it on the show. We know about the dwarfism outcome. We see it with Jonah and Elizabeth. But what about that other 25%? The 1 in 4 chance of an average-sized baby. Statistically speaking, it is entirely possible, even probable, that Trent and Amber could have conceived an average-sized child. Now, imagine the scene. A young couple, deeply embedded in the Little People of America community. People whose entire lives and social circles revolve around their stature. They get pregnant. They are terrified of the fatal double-dominant gene. But instead, the baby is born healthy. But the baby is average. In any other family, this is a celebration. But for a couple who has built their identity around their differences, who perhaps harbor a deep-seated insecurity about the average-sized world that has mocked them, this child represents a complication. This is where the lost child theory takes a dark turn. Rumors have been circulating in online forums and local Georgia message boards for years, often deleted as quickly as they appear. These aren't just random trolls. These are detailed accounts that align suspiciously well with the gaps in the Johnston timeline. The theory posits that before Jonah, there was another baby, a biological child of Trent and Amber, a child who was born average-sized. The whisper suggests that this young couple, perhaps feeling overwhelmed by the prospect of raising a child who would physically outgrow them in a few years, or perhaps fearing that an average-sized child would alienate them from their close-knit community, made a choice that has haunted them ever since. The theory suggests a closed adoption. Think about the psychological weight of that. We see Trent's parents. He is controlling. He is obsessed with his children being tough, independent, and capable of handling a world that wasn't made for them. He projects a very specific kind of masculinity and resilience. Now view that parenting style through the lens of guilt. Is he so hard on his children because he wants them to survive? Or is he overcompensating for a child he didn't keep? Is the obsession with keeping the family unit so tight, so insulated, a reaction to having broken the family unit once before? We recently uncovered a thread from a user claiming to be a former neighbor from their early days in Georgia. This source, whose account has since been deactivated, spoke of a baby that disappeared. They claimed that for a brief period there was a nursery set up, there were baby supplies, and there was a newborn. And then, there wasn't. The neighborhood gossip at the time wasn't about something sinister like a crime, but rather something confusing. The baby went to live with relatives, was the line used at the grocery store. An aunt, a cousin, someone better equipped. But who? And why? As the years went on and the Johnstons became famous, the neighbors watched. They saw Jonah, they saw Elizabeth, they saw the adoptions, but they never saw that first baby again. If this theory holds even an ounce of water, it reframes everything we know about the show. It suggests that the 7 Little Johnstons isn't just a family name, it's a curated cast list. It suggests that admission to the family requires a medical diagnosis. It turns the heartwarming story of adoption on its head. They didn't just adopt to save children, they adopted to maintain an aesthetic. They adopted Anna, Alex, and Emma because they fit the brand. They fit the criteria. An average-sized biological child would have been an outsider in their own home. And consider the timing of the show's inception. Reality TV producers love a hook. When pitching the show, Family of 7 Dwarfs sells. Family of Dwarfs plus 1 average-sized teenager is a different show. It's Little People, Big World. It's been done. The Roloffs have average-sized children. That tension is the center of their drama. The Johnstons wanted to be different. They wanted to be the real little family. Did they suppress the existence of a biological child to secure a TV deal? It sounds Machiavellian, but fame does strange things to people. The silence regarding this potential sibling is deafening. Let's look at the children's dynamics. Jonah has struggled immensely with anxiety and the pressure of being the oldest. But what if subconsciously he knows he isn't the oldest? What if the pressure Trent puts on him to be the man of the house is because Trent knows he failed his actual firstborn? Jonah struggles with adulthood, his difficulty launching, his constant friction with his parents. It all reads like the behavior of a child carrying a burden he doesn't understand. And then there is Anna, the black sheep, the child who can do no right in Trent and Amber's eyes. Fans have always been baffled by how differently Anna is treated compared to the others. Why is she the target? The theory offers a chilling explanation. Perhaps Anna, who is adopted and has a different personality, reminds them of the child they gave away. Not physically, but in the sense of being difficult or different from what they wanted. In psychology, displacement is a powerful defense mechanism. You take your anger and guilt out on a safer target. Anna has become the vessel for the guilt they feel over the child that isn't there. We also need to talk about the concept of the missing year. If you line up their marriage certificate date with Jonah's birth date, and then factor in the time they claim they spent waiting to have kids, there is a discrepancy of about 18 months that is unaccounted for. 18 months. That is exactly enough time to conceive, carry a child to term, give birth, and go through the immediate aftermath of an adoption process. When interviewers ask about this specific time frame, Amber often deflects talking about her health. She says, "We had some health scares," but she never specifies what those scares were. Was the health scare the emotional trauma of giving up a child? Or was it the realization that their genetics could produce average-sized offspring, a reality they weren't ready to face? Furthermore, look at their obsession with their children's dating lives. They are hyper-involved, almost to a pathological degree, in ensuring their children find partners who understand their life. They were ecstatic when Elizabeth started dating Bryce, who is average-sized, but noticed the tension there. Trent is constantly testing Bryce. He is constantly reminding Bryce of the challenges. Is this just a protective father? Or is this a man projecting his own inability to cope with an average-sized family member? Is he projecting his own past failure onto Bryce, waiting for Bryce to realize that he can't handle it, just like Trent couldn't handle it years ago? The secret child theory is the elephant in the room that no one at TLC wants to acknowledge. It is the thread that, if pulled, unravels the tapestry of the perfect little family. And while the Johnstons continue to post their matching pajama photos and their coordinated vacation reels, the internet is not forgetting. The questions are getting louder. The timeline analysis is getting deeper. And somewhere out there, if the rumors are true, is a young adult. A person who looks like Trent around the eyes, who has Amber's smile, but who stands 5'10". A person who walks through the world completely unaware that their biological parents are reality TV stars who erase them to maintain a brand. Or perhaps they do know. Perhaps the silence is bought. Non-disclosure agreements are standard in the industry. Is it possible that a portion of that TLC money is being funneled into keeping a decades-old secret buried? The implications are staggering. It suggests that the love we see on screen is conditional. It suggests that acceptance in the Johnston household is based on height. It transforms them from lovable underdogs into architects of a curated reality where only certain types of children are welcome. In the next part of this investigation, we are going to dive even deeper. We are going to look at the specific language used in their biography. We are going to analyze the strange, unexplained gaps in their family photo albums shown on screen. We have found images where backgrounds seem cropped, where silhouettes don't match the narrative. And we're going to discuss the average-sized relative theory, the idea that the child wasn't given to strangers, but is hiding in plain sight within their extended family tree, listed as a cousin or a nephew. The rabbit hole goes deeper than you can imagine. Stay tuned, because we are just scratching the surface of the Johnston family secret. We have to talk about the photo albums. In the early seasons of the show, viewers were often treated to nostalgic montages of Trent and Amber's early relationship. We see the wedding photos, we see the early days of renovation on their first fixer-upper, but eagle-eyed viewers have noticed something unsettling about the family archives shown on screen. There are gaps. Significant chunks of time, specifically around the late 90s, seem to be missing entirely from the visual record. When photos from this era are shown, they are often close-cropped, focusing tightly on Trent and Amber's faces, almost as if to deliberately exclude the background. Why? What is in the background that we aren't allowed to see? Is it a crib that shouldn't be there? Is it a high chair designed for an average-sized toddler? We brought in a digital imaging expert to look at a specific photo shared in Season 3. It shows Trent standing on a porch. To the untrained eye, it is just a picture. But look at the shadow casting on the floor to his right. The angle of the sun suggests a figure standing next to him, a figure that has been digitally removed or physically cropped out of the frame. The shadow is long, too long to belong to a little person. It is the shadow of someone of average height, someone who was standing right there in the center of their lives before being excised from the narrative. This visual evidence aligns terrifyingly well with the testimony of our exclusive insider source. We managed to make contact with an individual claiming to be a former associate of the family from their time in Barnesville, Georgia. To protect their identity, we will verify them only as Source A. Source A tells a story that is heartbreaking in its simplicity. According to them, the secret wasn't always a secret. In the beginning, it was just life. The source claims that Trent and Amber did indeed give birth to a biological child before Jonah, a boy. But unlike the rest of the clan, this boy was born without the genetic marker for dwarfism. He was average. Source A alleges that for the first 2 years, the Johnstons tried to make it work. But the dynamic was fraught with a unique kind of tension that most people wouldn't understand. Usually, parents help children navigate a world that is too big for them. But here, the child was rapidly outgrowing the parents. By the age of 2, an average-sized toddler can already physically overpower or outmaneuver parents with achondroplasia in certain situations. The source claims that Trent, a man who prides himself on authority and capability, struggled profoundly with the optics of raising a son who would physically look down on him by the age of 10. The insecurity wasn't just physical, it was existential. Their home was their kingdom, a place modified for their comfort. An average-sized child was a giant in the making, an intruder in a world designed for small stature. The rumor goes that the decision to place the child for adoption was framed as an act of mercy within their local church community. They allegedly spun the narrative that they could not provide the physical support an energetic, average-sized boy needed. They claimed he deserved a family that could run with him, play sports with him, and give him a life they couldn't physically sustain. It was a noble lie, a cover story to mask the darker truth, that his presence destroyed their identity. The child was reportedly adopted by a family in a neighboring county, a closed adoption with sealed records. And just like that, the problem was solved. The giant was gone, and Trent and Amber were free to build the family they actually wanted, a family created in their own image. This brings us to the darkest part of the theory, the cousin cover-up. Some theorists believe the child didn't go to strangers at all. They point to a specific cousin who occasionally appears in the background of large family gatherings in the earliest social media posts long before the TLC cameras arrived. A young, average-sized male who bears a striking facial resemblance to Trent. He is never introduced. He is never mic'd up. He is just there, hovering at the edge of the frame. Is it possible that the child was raised by a relative to keep the secret in the family? It would explain why Trent and Amber seem to have such a strict, almost militant control over their extended family's interaction with the show. They aren't just protecting their privacy, they are protecting the lie. If that cousin were to speak, if he were to take a DNA test, the entire 7 Little Johnstons empire would collapse. And make no mistake, this is about an empire. We have to follow the money. When TLC came calling, they weren't looking for just another family. They were looking for a hook. The network had already found massive success with Little People, Big World, but the roll-off family drama hinged on the dichotomy between the dwarf parents and their average-sized children. That ground had been covered. To sell a new show, the Johnstons needed a new angle. They pitched themselves as the real-life 7 dwarfs, the all-little family. This branding is their unique selling point. It is the reason they get the sponsorships, the speaking fees, the seasons. If it came out that they had an average-sized son who they discarded, 2 things would happen. First, the all-little brand is ruined. They are no longer a statistical anomaly. They are just a family that curated their genetics. Second, and more importantly, they would be villainized. The audience can forgive a lot, But they cannot forgive parents who choose their children based on aesthetics. It would reveal a level of narcissism that is irredeemable. It would paint Trent not as a strict father, but as a man so fragile in his masculinity that he couldn't handle a son taller than him. It would paint Amber not as a nurturing mother, but as a woman who values the look of her family over the blood in her veins. Think about the psychological toll this secret takes on them. Watch the show again with this in mind. Look at the frantic way they try to control their adult children's lives. Trent's obsession with Jonah's job, with Anna's moving out, with Elizabeth's relationships. It isn't just parenting. It is a desperate need to ensure that the children they did keep turn out perfect to justify the one they gave away. If Jonah fails, or if Anna rebels, it cracks the facade. It whispers to them that maybe they made the wrong choice. Maybe the average-sized child was the good one. Maybe they threw away the best part of themselves. The tension with Anna, in particular, makes so much more sense now. Anna was the first child adopted after the alleged biological child was given up. She was the replacement. But Anna is rebellious. She is independent. She challenges them. Every time Anna acts out, it triggers the trauma of the child they couldn't control. They punish her harder because she represents the chaos they tried to purge from their lives. It is a cycle of trauma being reenacted on national television, and we are all watching it as entertainment, completely oblivious to the subtext. So where is he now? The lost Johnston. If the timeline is correct, he would be in his mid to late 20s. He is out there. He is walking around, perhaps in Georgia, perhaps further away. Does he watch the show? Does he see his biological parents buying cars for his siblings, taking them on vacations, paying for their colleges? Does he see the life that was stolen from him? Or does he not know? Is he living a normal, average-sized life, completely unaware that he is the missing puzzle piece to a reality TV dynasty? Imagine the scene if he ever decides to come forward. Imagine the season finale where the doorbell rings and a 6-foot-tall man walks in, looking exactly like a stretched-out version of Trent, holding a birth certificate. It would be the most watched moment in television history. And it is the moment Trent and Amber fear the most. It is the shadow that hangs over every barbecue, every holiday special, every confessional interview. They are living on borrowed time. In the age of DNA testing, of 23andMe, of Ancestry.com, secrets don't stay buried forever. All it takes is one test, one match. And the house of cards comes down. We call upon the internet sleuths. We call upon the locals of Barnesville. We call upon anyone who remembers the Johnstons from the late 90s. Look at your old yearbooks. Look at your old church directories. Was there a baby? Was there a pregnancy that suddenly ended without a child? The truth is out there, fragmented in the memories of strangers. We are putting the pieces together, but we need your help to finish the puzzle. Because ultimately, this isn't just a story about a reality TV show. It is a story about what we are willing to sacrifice for fame. It is a story about the conditions we place on unconditional love. Trent and Amber Johnston have sold us a story of acceptance. They preach that being little is just a physical difference, that it doesn't define who you are. But if this theory is true, then they are the biggest hypocrites of all. Because they let height define their family. They let a physical difference dictate who got to stay and who had to go. They erased a human being to create a brand. And now, the ghost of that child is coming back to haunt them. The silence in the Johnston house is loud, and it is getting louder. If you believe that the truth deserves to be heard, share this video. Tag TLC. Ask the hard questions in the comments of their Instagram posts. Don't let them delete the narrative. We will continue to dig. We will continue to hunt for the records. And we will not stop until the lost Johnston is found. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next update, where we might just reveal the face of the secret son. The investigation continues.